All right, let's talk about an instrument that was literally born from chaos, pure necessity, and a little bit of mechanical genius. We're diving into the incredible evolution of the drum kit.
Just look at this. On one side, you've got this chaotic pile of noisemakers they called traps, and on the other, the sleek, unified engine that drives the heartbeat of modern music. The transformation is staggering, and that's what we're here to unpack.
So the big question is, right, how in the world did we get from that pile of noisemakers, to this incredibly powerful, unified instrument? Well, the answer is a fantastic story of ingenuity, and it was all driven by a super simple need: to do more with less.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to go back in time. Picture it. You're in a cramped, stuffy orchestra pit in a vaudeville theater. See, before we had what we think of as a drummer, you had something more like a one-person sound effects department.
Yeah, these early drummers weren't just keeping time. Nope. They were in charge of this whole collection of gadgets called traps. Think bells, whistles, woodblocks, you name it. Their job was to hit just the right sound to accent the comedy or the drama happening up on stage. And because those orchestra pits were tiny, everything was just crammed in there together.
So you're probably wondering, how did one person play all this stuff at once? Well, they had this technique called double drumming. Basically, you're hitting the bass drum with the stick in one hand and you're playing the snare with the other. Just try to imagine keeping a solid, groovy beat while you're juggling that. Yeah, let's just say it was not perfect.
I mean, it was clumsy, super physically demanding, and just plain inefficient. A solution wasn't just a nice-to-have, it was absolutely necessary. These drummers desperately needed a way to free up their hands. And that solution, well, it arrived in the form of a single, brilliant invention. Honestly, this is the moment the modern drum kit, as we know it, really starts to come together. Because believe it or not, one foot was about to change everything.
So here it is. In 1909, a guy named William F. Ludwig comes along and creates the first really reliable, floor-mounted bass drum pedal. And this simple little device, it was a total game changer. All of a sudden, a drummer's foot could do the work that one of their hands was stuck doing.
Just like that, one person can now do the work of two. Seriously. The pedal freed up the hands to focus completely on the snare and all the other percussion. It basically merged the bass drum and the snare into one single rhythmic powerhouse played by just one person.
And the impact was, well, immediate. Think about it. Before the pedal, you had two hands tied up playing just two drums. Your patterns were super limited. But after the pedal, now you've got two hands and a foot to play with. A whole universe of rhythmic freedom just opened up.
Okay, so things are looking pretty good, right? But the kit still wasn't quite complete. You had the bass and snare, which is a great foundation for sure, but the instrument was still missing its voice. You know, that shimmering, metallic sound that really cuts through the rest of the band.
So the first crack at solving this was something called the low boy. It was basically a foot-operated cymbal stand that sat just a few inches off the ground. Now, it gave you a nice little chick sound with your foot, which was useful, but that's all it did. Your hands couldn't get to it, so you still didn't have that sustained ringing cymbal sound.
And this is where the players themselves start driving the innovation. You have these legendary drummers like Baby Dodds and Gene Krupa saying, hey, we need more. They wanted more versatility. And the solution was so simple, it's brilliant. Just make the stand taller. And boom, the hi-hat was born, bringing those cymbals right up where your hands and your feet could play them.
And that, right there, was the final, crucial piece of the puzzle. The hi-hat was the bridge between the feet and the hands. This integration is what allowed for the complex, driving rhythms that would totally define the entire swing era. It was everything.
All right, so now we've got all the key players. The bass drum pedal is providing the pulse, the hi-hat is giving the kit its voice, all the components are finally on the table. So let's look at how this all came together to create that synchronized rhythmic engine we know and love today. By the time we hit the 1930s, the change is undeniable. The old trap set had totally shed its skin. All those whistles and bells and miscellaneous noisemakers, they were pretty much gone. What was left was a streamlined, core group of instruments focused on one thing: making music. And what you get is the modern drum kit. It's really a masterpiece of ergonomic design. It stopped being just a random collection of parts and became this single unified instrument designed so that every one of your limbs can work together in perfect harmony.
And a few other key things really cemented this. You've got uniform, heavy-duty hardware to make everything stable, you've got suspension mounting systems that let the drums really sing, but the most important thing, a standardized layout all built around the player for that perfect ergonomic unity.
So let's do a quick recap of this whole journey, right? From total chaos to perfect cohesion.
And it all happened so fast when you think about it. We start in the 1890s with the vaudeville traps, then, boom, 1909, the Ludwig pedal changes the game. The 1920s give us the lowboy, which was a great idea that just needed a little tweak, and by the 1930s, the standardized kit is here to stay, the rhythmic engine that's been driving music ever since.
So the next time you hear that driving beat, that solid kick drum, that crisp hi-hat, remember where it came from. It wasn't just some flash of inspiration. This entire instrument was born from pure absolute necessity. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other things that we see every day were born not just from a cool idea, but from someone desperately needing to solve a problem?